Hello there. Welcome to Trends with LJE, your daily deep dive into the hottest topics shaping our nation and beyond. I am Maimuna Ahwez as a buyer, and as always, I'll be guiding you through the major headlines and the conversations that matter most. Today, the political landscape is heating up with some major topics and developments. But I'm not alone here to dissect it. I have three erudite gentlemen with me that will be talking about these very interesting topics. First to my left is Mr. Shedrack Oka. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much,
Right in the middle there is Dr. Uchiara Ikedichukwu Chris. You're welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
And last but not the least is Mr. Chidi Iloameke. Welcome to Trends with LJE.
Thank you for having me around.
All right, let's jump right in. Gentlemen, we're going to be dissecting three specific topics. The first one being the Supreme Court judgment and the Rivers State government crisis. If our viewers, for the sake of those who are not familiar, the ongoing issue in Port Harcourt, specifically Rivers State, has been involved, the governor, Governor Siminalayi Fubara, has been involved in several legal disputes addressed by the Supreme Court. Starting from February of this year, there was the dismissal of their appeal against pro-Wike lawmakers. If you're not familiar, about 27 members of the Rivers State House of Assembly was petitioned to be dismissed summarily by the Supreme Court by the governor of Rivers State, where he challenged their alleged defection from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressive Congress, APC. The court upheld the earlier decisions of the Federal High Court and the Court of Appeal, which had recognized the legitimacy of the lawmakers' positions. At the same time, the Supreme Court recognized pro-Wike lawmakers. In related judgments, the Supreme Court affirmed the leadership of the Rivers State House of Assembly under the Speaker Martin Amewule, who is aligned with Wike. The court also declared Governor Fubara's actions against the Assembly's leadership as unlawful and unconstitutional, emphasizing that his conduct undermined the rule of law. In February of 2025, a few days ago actually, the Supreme Court invalidated the local government elections conducted by the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission last year in October, and they cited significant violations of the Electoral Acts. In response, the governor announced plans to conduct fresh elections across all council areas, stating that his administration would implement the court's verdict after reviewing it. There was calls for review, and finally, the Supreme Court has stated that the governor has to go in line with their judgment. And as at yesterday, Governor Fubara finally capitulated and said that he would, do as the Supreme Court has directed.
Although we disagree with the judgment, we are bound to obey the order made therein as a law-abiding government. Given the outlawing of caretaker arrangements in the local government system, I hereby direct Head of Local Government Administration to immediately take over the administration of the 23 local government council, pending the conduct of a fresh election by the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission. I further direct that the outgoing local government chairman to formally hand over to the Head of Local Government Administration by Monday, the 3rd of March, 2025.
Mr. Shedrack Oka, what are your thoughts on the ongoing issue?
Thank you very much, Mona. I think for me, the judgments that happened, the Supreme Court judgment over the Rivers crisis, for me is very symbolic. It's a triumph of law over emotions, legality over sentiment. I think this should set the pace for people to, not be too emotional about certain issues, especially when we try to idolize our leaders. You may like Wike or hate Fubara, but the truth is that we must follow the law. And I thank God the governor did not struggle,
Yeah, contest.
contest the Supreme Court judgment. He has said he's going to implement it fully, especially if they study the judgment that is going to be out on Friday. That is a good news for me. The Rivers people will be the winner of it all. And lessons drawn is for people who are rejoicing today, especially the pro-Wike camp, they should take note there are other matters before the court, so that tomorrow, if it doesn't favor you, you should not start shouting. You should as well obey the law. We want a situation where our laws are upheld and respected. So people should do things that aligns with the law. It's very unfortunate that the governor allowed himself to be tricked. I should say so. That's the reason you have essays, SSAs, and the Attorney General is there to guide you. He's an accountant. These are issues of legality. He has seen it now. He said their actions, they are human. They are not above mistakes. On matters of constitution, we should tread carefully. So it's a wake-up call to other people to always allow their head to rule over their hearts and not take laws into their hands. That's my take.
Interesting. You were talking about people's sentiments regarding, you may like Wike and not like the governor. I think a lot of that has also poured into how people are viewing this. And I would like to hear from Dr. Chris regarding the statement that Mr. Oka just said, regarding people's sentiments and how this has also affected how long this issue has tarried up until the Supreme Court's judgment of yesterday or 2 days ago, actually. What are your thoughts?
Thank you very much for having me. My thoughts in that issue is that I am of the opinion that sentiment should not prevail over issues of national interest, things that has to do with the people. Because River State is not, for me, is not any person's property. It's the Rivers people that owns River State and whatever is in it. So sentiment in this regards, whether you are pro-Wike or pro-Fubara, sentiment of any side should not overwhelm the interests of the people. I also want to use the opportunity to talk on the judiciary. Our judiciary should be very proactive. You know, looking at the time this issue has taken the judiciary to come up with a decision that will be very, very objective and decisive on a matter of this kind of urgency. They shouldn't be procrastinating or adjourning cases that has to do with the people. Wike is not the owner of the of River State, neither Fubara. Is the Rivers people that owns the state. So an issue like this should be looked into with every matter of urgency and needed attention. So in future, our judiciary should come up with the needed attention. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chris. Mr. Chidi, I'm going to come right to you. Just yesterday, actually this morning, there was a statement by Wike where he basically admonished Fubara, saying you can't play God. I think in his own way, trying to align himself with the Supreme Court's judgment. As a political godfather, he said, you can't continue to play as if you are God. You must play by the rules. What are your thoughts? Especially as you know that Wike and Fubara have already, there's been daggers drawn, and it's really pretty much what has led to where we are today for the Rivers people. Do you think that this is a kind of I told you so on the part of Wike? And do you think that Fubara has any standing going forward if he continues to maybe thwart any of Wike's directives as, you know, the political godfather of River State, as it were? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, Wike he's free to say whatever he wants to say. You know, the Supreme Court verdict, is a verdict that addresses certain issues, and there's a gray area. You know, the gray area is the legality of the defection. And the Supreme Court did not take any position. There was no judgment on that. All the Supreme Court just said is, look, the 27 members are valid members of the Assembly. And in the River State High Court, there is a case on ground today. It's still ongoing. It does not, so Wike should also watch it, because and look, Wike's statement is even, sorry to say it, it's disappointing. You know why? Because if you look at the statement put up by, what's his name now, by Fubara. Fubara mentioned that for the interest of peace in the state, that he will implement the decisions of the Supreme Court. There was no sign that shows Fubara was not going to obey that. Meanwhile, there is also the fact that the defection, the legality of the defection, which did not go to the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court did not adjudicate on that matter, on the legality of the defection, which is another case also different. So, yes, it's also in the High Court of Rivers State. And what does it say? What it says there is that if the defection, now I'll read section.
You came prepared.
I'll read section 109(1)(g) of the 1999 Constitution as amended, right? Now, this is what it says. It says, being a person whose election to the House of Assembly was sponsored by a political party in the case of defection, a member of a House of Assembly shall vacate his seat in the House if, G, being a person whose election in the House of Assembly was sponsored by a political party, he becomes a member of another political party before the expiration of the period for which that House was elected. Continuation. Provided that his membership of the latter political party is not as a result of a division in the political party of which he was previously a member, or of a merger of two or more political parties, or a faction by which he was previously sponsored. Now, the point, what is the take-home here? The take-home is that, is there a division? Because if there's a division in the PDP at the national level, then their defection is what? Is legal.
Right. But there's no division, is there?
There is no division. Because there is no division, the Rivers State, look, Wike should not, just don't give us that impression, please. And let me put the record straight. Don't give us, don't misinform people. I'm not saying disinformation, I say misinform. You know, it's a speech. For me, it's a speech out of ignorance, because Wike should, at this time, be quiet and wait for the rulings of the Rivers State House of Assembly, Rivers State High Court, Rivers State, that is determining this case. And Fubara should be applauded. Wike, during his time as the governor, with due respect, speaking publicly on public opinion basis, that Wike, with due respect, when he was the governor, he did all sorts of things. Nobody, this is a personal fight. Absolutely. So on the strength of that, I think they don't. Let's see what happens. I don't think they have a case. I'm talking about the Wike camp currently.
Sorry to buttress my earlier point. You see, I earlier said that Rivers State as a state is for the Rivers people, not for Wike or for Fubara. Now look at the kind of resources spent in the area of conducting an invalidated election. Look at the money spent in trying to demolish the State House of Assembly. Right. And every other thing that has been done there that attracted the taxpayers' money. Wike, or Fubara, used the taxpayers' money to do all these things. Had it been the judiciary intervened earlier, as they did now, all this money would have been used for the development of Rivers State, not for the development of Fubara or Wike.
I think, what the saying says, when two elephants fight, it's the ground that suffers. It's pretty much exemplary in what is happening in Rivers State today. Mr. Oka, I'm going to come to you because a recent statement issued in Abuja just yesterday, the former Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the APC, Comrade Timi Frank, criticized the Supreme Court judgment ordering the withdrawal of monthly allocations to local governments. He stated that Nigerians and the international community should hold President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the Chief Justice of Nigeria accountable for any unrest or anarchy that may arise from public dissatisfaction with what he is terming a gross misconduct of justice. He's saying that from the illegal judgments I don't know, these are his quotes. Quote, from the illegal judgments which came out from the Supreme Court against the Rivers State government, the whole world knows that this is the most fraudulent judgment ever delivered in the history of life. This is very catastrophizing, in my opinion. But I would like to hear how this to him is an anti-truth judgment. He says it's an anti-God, anti-inhuman, and anti-justice judgment that is most obviously meant to give the opposition leeway to take over Rivers State. Is there any semblance of truth or sense in those remarks?
Comrade Timi Frank is someone I respect because he's a lone voice when it comes to speaking truth to power and sometimes highlighting the voice of the oppressed. But in this case, I differ completely with him. Like I said in my opening statement, law and legality over sentiment and emotions.
Absolutely.
I think he's outburst out of emotions. Whether you like Wike or you love Fubara, this is not about Wike or Fubara. This is about the institution, this is about governance, it's about the people. For me, what I would say, I think what the judges do or the court is evidence-based and facts before it. The court do not pass judgment based on frivolities or sentiment or emotions, as in this case is. But I can tell you the truth, Comrade Timi Frank should relax, just like what my colleague have said here. The truth is that, and it's why I made that statement for those who are rejoicing today, because you think it goes your way. There is a subsisting case already on the legality of the defections of those 27 lawmakers. I can tell you for free, these things are very clear. They defected, and there is no, the only place we disagree with Fubara is taking laws into your hand. It is the court who eventually will pronounce their seat vacant, and not that union taking laws into your hand by submitting budget to a few minorities. So we'll wait.
No, it's not just law. It's not just law. It's not just.
I'm not trying,
Because
I mean, yes, it's just true that some of the statements that were made by Comrade Frank were a bit incendiary. But do you not see some truth? I'm coming to you, Mr. Chidi. The Niger Delta Forum, PANDEF, expressed concern over this ruling as well. Although they were looking at it from an economic, standpoint. They are saying that there should be a review of this decision because it has the potential to create adverse effects on the state's development and the welfare. So they are talking about the disbursement of federal allocation right now. What are your thoughts on that? Do you not think that there is some validity to that argument?
Well, you don't even need to say some. There is serious validity to the argument. First of all, we forget that the principal reason for governance and why there is, governance in the first place, what is government in every part of the world, in human history, is for law and order, absolutely, protection of lives and properties. Absolutely. Every other thing is window dressing, is smoke screen. Look at what is happening in Rivers State. You look at the court judgment. What does the Supreme Court want? Does the Supreme Court want a situation whereby Fubara goes back and says, okay, 2024 budget, I will represent it after it's been expended? Well, Fubara can do something. You can go back and do, the supplementary budget of 2025. You can actually present it to those people. And, who is suffering? It's the people. Because the whole issue of Rivers State, let's sound this very, very clear. It's a personal tussle between a godfather and his godson. Clear, obvious. It's not about the good of the people. It's not about to ensure that there is food on the table of the poor masses. It's not about to ensure that there is rule of law in the resource of it. It's not about to ensure that there is employment. It's not about palliatives. And all you hear in this country is sad, is unfortunate. It is just kangaroo that politicians, as old as they are, as matured as they are, come to discuss issues of personal interest, bedroom talks, and they take it to Supreme Court. And Supreme Court is so quick to make decisions on this. You have issues that are pending, serious issues that should affect the lives of the people, and we're keeping quiet. Pandef, you're very, very correct. They should even say more because it's unfortunate. Wike should not be proud of this. Wike should ask himself, in 100 years' time, 10 years' time, when I leave power, in 50 years' time, whenever he wants to, what will my generation say about me? That's the question. Yeah. So on the strength of that, I think Bandes is right.
All right. Very passionate ending to that topic. We'll be moving straight along to the second topic on trends with LJE, which is the Lagos House Assembly leadership tussle. Now, for the purpose of those who are not informed on that situation, the Lagos State House of Assembly is currently embroiled in a leadership crisis marked by the emergence of two individuals claiming the position of Speaker. This is old news. Just to recap, the Speaker since June 2015, Mudashiru Obasa, was impeached by a majority of Assembly members last month over allegations of gross misconduct and abuse of office. On the strength of that, the then Deputy Speaker, Mojisola Miranda, was elected as the new Speaker, becoming the first female to hold this position in Lagos State. The situation has since then escalated when Obasa disputed his impeachment and attempted to reclaim the speakership, which in turn has led to a standoff within the assembly. There have been violent outbursts. There have been, back and forth, people supporting both sides. And even the question of what is constitutionally correct at this point has been put to question. As at yesterday, the assembly ordered that staff should work remotely. It has escalated to the point where staff have been ordered to work remotely for the purpose of their safety. I'm going to come to you, Dr. Chris. What are your thoughts on this? Because efforts to resolve this are ongoing, and interventions from prominent figures in the APC to broker a truce and come to a sort of impasse or a kind of agreement where the House can be unified in their decision as who to be Speaker is crucial to the advancement of Lagos State judiciary. What are your thoughts,
Yes.
Mr. Chris?
So still on the selfish interest background, when you look at what is being displayed in the Lagos House of Assembly, you will see that the former Speaker, Mudashiru, is from a different constituency with the governor, which, according to him, he is trying to get what he feels is due to his people. Miranda is from the same constituency with the governor, which politically, if you are looking at it, the two major political positions, the governor and the speaker, is going to one part of the state, which is not, democratically, it is not balanced. So, if I am to say, I am seeing Mudashiru trying to get what is due to him, but where he is getting it wrong is trying to still impose himself back. It can be given to another person from that senatorial district of the state, right. Not him precisely. So now another thing to talk on there is he was not in the country. He came back, immediately he arrived, he got his police details back, whereas the current, the woman speaker was denied of her own. So when you look at it, you see the power from top displaying itself there. He is not acting based on his own. Look at what he just said. He said he is in support of Tinubu, but whatever he acts, he is acting on his own. So when you look at it, it is just a display of selfish interest and the power from above. Our power from above cannot say they are not aware of what is happening there. All these things ends up disrupting governance, disrupting development of the state, and at the end of it all, the people will suffer. People did not vote them in there to go and fight, to go and disrupt governance. They are voted there to bring development and democracy to the people. So my take there is, if that speakership position must go back to the senatorial district where Obasa come from, it shouldn't be Obasa. It should be another person from that place. And by that, I think everything will balance. Thank you.
Very true. Thank you so much. We will be going on a quick break. And when we come back, Mr. Oka, I will be asking you questions regarding the President, Bola Tinubu's intervention attempts on this ongoing issue, as well as the statement from the Governance Advisory Council on the issue. We will be right back. Don't go anywhere.
As a people and members of LJE Green Community, we share a deeper commitment to protect not only our environment, but also the rights and dignity of all individuals within our reach. Every day, we are faced with responsibility to uphold human dignity. If you see something happening around you, do not turn blind eye. We must act because that's where our role as ambassadors come in. Being an ambassador doesn't require any superpower. It requires awareness, compassion, and the willingness to speak up. If you see something, say something. It's our duty to stand up for justice and amplify the voices of those who can't speak for themselves. One voice can spark a movement, and together we can create a nation that values human life. You can reach us on 070-5236-8821 or visit our website at www.ljenigeria.org to report a violation. Remember, if you see something, say something.
Welcome back to the program, Trends with LJE. Before we went on the break, and if you're just joining us, you have missed a lot, by the way. We have been dissecting the Lagos State House of Assembly leadership tussle, talking about the ongoing situation with this former speaker and the current speaker. Just before we went on the break, Mr. Oka, I was saying I was going to ask you a couple of questions regarding certain statements that have been made and certain developments regarding the issue. The Governance Advisory Council has stated that they are unable to resolve the crisis and that the issue has nothing to do with them. In the same vein, interventions by a mediating panel drafted by President Ahmed Bola Tinubu in person of the former governors of Osun and Ogun states, Chief Bisi Akande and Chief Olusegun Oshoba, have not really brought to bear any, lasting solution. It doesn't seem like any parts of these warring parties are willing to even sit down with these chieftains. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, thank you very much. I think my thoughts on the Lagos crisis is very simple. We need strong institutions as opposed to having strong men in the country in every aspect of our leadership and governance in the country. With all due respect to Mr. Obasa, he's a very fine legislator. The people well represented the people, as proven by the number of times you've elected him. But on this matter, the question should be his impeachment as the Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, is it in accordance with the laws that governs the book? The answer is yes. He was brought in by his colleague, voted by the House, and over two-thirds majority impeached him. So the question that should arise is whether they follow due process. When he came back, I think he was saying he remains the Speaker, he was not impeached, due process was not followed. What is due process? In Section 93 and 143 of the Constitution, in terms of removal of the Speaker, you can only remove the Speaker in three ways. One, if he resigned as a member of the House of Assembly. Two, by a dissolution of the House. And the third one is by impeachment. And the Constitution only stated by simple two-thirds majority, not less than two-thirds majority. Over 90% of the Lagos State House of Assembly members impeached him as their speaker and elected a new person. Like my colleague rightly said, I think he shared in that sentiment, but he brought in an emotional statement by saying the new speaker comes from the same place with the governor. Very unfortunately, we don't have that to decide. The issue of election of the leadership of the House is the sole responsibility of the members of the House. Whether they choose somebody in the same street with the governor is immaterial with respect to the law. So if they have chosen a new speaker, so be it. Mr. Obasa can go to court and allow the court to pass the judgment, whether it is right or wrong. Again, it calls for the responsibility and capacity of our representation. Setting up panels to look into an issue such as impeaching a colleague should not even arise at all. So for me, the Lagos State House of Assembly as it is, Miranda remains the speaker until the court says otherwise. After all, he has gone to court, so they'll wait for court verdict to do justice to the issue.
Thank you so much, Mr. Oka. Mr. Chidi,
Yes,
you
please.
haven't spoken on
Please.
this. I would like to hear, just yesterday, actually, it was announced that staff members at the Lagos State House of Assembly should work from home because of, the melee that has continued in the House. Apparently, even police that were attached to, security details attached to the speaker, current speaker Miranda, have been withdrawn, and she's been on her own at the moment. At the same time, members of the press have been precluded from going into the State of Assembly, or rather House State of Assembly, to cover the plenary.
Who withdrew the police?
It wasn't stated directly, but
The IG of police has powers to do that. Let's not forget, because this is very important. The IG of police has that powers to withdraw police from a constitutionally
it was
elected.
Lagos State Police Command that
The commissioner, the IG, we'll talk about the hierarchy here.
Right.
Let's look at the commissioner of police.
Right.
If you don't want to talk about the IG, because it's in Lagos State,
Right.
it's not a federal
Right.
issue. But then, the commissioner, who gave that commissioner the instruction? Is it from the governor or so? Now, the question here is, first of all, a lot of issues, but I want us to look at just one single issue. Why? If you look at the whole thing happening, Lagos State Assembly, House of Assembly has how many members? 40 in total. And all of these 40 are members of the ruling APC,
yes.
All Progressive People's Congress. And these are supposed to be progressives. Now, why do you have rancor in the society? Why do you have conflict? It's because we don't have law. And when we have law in the society, it's supposed to guide human conduct. So that it's not anarchy. Because anarchy is a state of lawlessness. And why do you think members of the APC, who are constitutionally elected members of the APC, would go through the constitution, follow the constitution of the land, the highest law of the land, to implement and take a particular action backed by the law for which people elected them and for which they serve in the state? And somebody would come do the contrary. Will you be excited? No. You talked about Tinubu-led reconciliation panel or panebita, or what do you call it? Whatever you want to call it, whatever it is wrong, is unconstitutional. The Constitution does not recognize presidential panel as a reason for recalling, Now, look at the Constitution. I'll tell you just very briefly, please. Allow me to do Section 92, subsection 2C. Section 92 says, there shall be a speaker and a deputy speaker of a House of Assembly who shall be elected by members of the House among themselves.
Right.
Now, look at what section this thing is saying, 2C is saying. If he is removed from office by a resolution of the House of Assembly by the vote of not less than 2/3 majority of the members of the House. 2/3 majority in this case would amount to 27 members. And we're talking about 34 members.
More than that, yes.
This is the will of the people. Does it not tell you that the APC is a party of destruction? Sorry to say this, but that's exactly what it looks like. It's an unconstitutional, a party that does not follow the Constitution. Look at what is happening within Nnamdi Kanu's case, where the Constitution is neglected, where the rulings of the court, the High Court, is not even obeyed. Look at what is happening in the country. And you tell me that the president will, these are human beings. Come on. If the president will be excited that this thing should go ahead, I don't think anybody will be excited about it. Because these are human beings too. And let me tell you something. You realize that it sends a clear message to the people that the reason why a whole Lagos State, which is the biggest commercial hub, if not the biggest, arguably one of the biggest in the whole of Africa. Look at the GDP of Lagos State. And the lawmaking arm of Lagos State is shut down, and the country is okay, like nothing is happening. You know what it means? It validates people's opinion that the current administration, the current politicians, the crop of politicians we have in this country and currently do not even care about the people.
I think it still ties down to what you said earlier, even in our initial topic, about a lack of independent judiciary and how we don't necessarily respect the Constitution and even the laws that have been set forth before us. Speaking on this same issue, if you recall, Obasa actually held plenary with 4 members of the House. As far as he was concerned, he had a quorum and he actually did hold plenary with 4 members. And that just tells you exactly where people's mentalities lie and people's, the police command, like I stated just now, about withdrawing police from the current speaker and even beefing up security for Obasa. He was just recently deployed to that place. So these are the kind of abuses of power that we see, some of them very subtle, but some very overt. And so I would like to hear what you were going to say before I cut in. Dr. Chris.
Yes, you see, from the inception, I've always made mention of the people. Any government that voices the presence of the people, that neglects the development of the people, it is not democratic. What you see Obasa and Miranda do, or what this plays in Lagos, you can see the absence of the people in it. The people are not being looked at, or they are focused.
It's not people-centered at all.
There's no presence of the people. Let me go back to what we call democracy against government of the people, for the people, and by the people. There is no people in what they do. It has been selfish to the core. I respect resources. Government is there to make resources. For who? For the people. What is the resources meant for? Development of the people. The people is totally absent in what they are doing. Our politicians are self-centered. Anything you see them do, they are doing it for their selfish interests and their cronies. So the people is not in what they are doing, and is laughable. And the power that be, the power at the top, is aware of what is happening. They cannot say they don't know what is happening. After all, Lagos is where it's coming from. Absolutely. Why not put a stop to what is happening there? If it is Obasa that you want, put him back and let the people enjoy. Let the people, they voted them in. If it is Miranda, put her back. Let the people enjoy. All these things has halted development of the people. Lagos is not progressing. There is no, they call themselves progressive party. There is nothing progressive in that party.
A very spirited ending to that topic. But basically the same sentiments have been shared all around. Pundits here and everywhere else expressing complete disgust at the state of the nation in small pockets around the country. And,
simultaneously.
Yeah,
simultaneously.
At the same time, where people's personal situations are being brought,
simultaneously,
to the playing field for us to litigate. And, moving forward to another topic, which is basically another similar situation, the situation regarding Senator Natasha Akpabio, representing Kogi Central, as well as the Senate President, Senator Godswill Akpabio. I don't need to go through, meander through the history of the story. If you're keeping abreast of current news, you already know that the senator has even gone to court to sue the Senate President. And just the day before yesterday, the Senate President's wife has also said she will be, making a case against Senator Natasha. In the same development, the Arawa Consultative Forum urged the federal government to immediately institute an independent investigation into all the sexual assaults or sexual harassment allegations that she has brought forth against him. However, the Senate Deputy Chief Whip has also strongly disagreed because even Bukola Saraki, former Senate President, has also called for an open and transparent investigation. So there's a lot of... At this point, we have gotten to the point where the cameras are no longer there. What we witnessed was just preamble to what, seems to be underlying. And now we are at the he said, she said portion of the tussle. So I'd like to hear, thoughts on this particular situation. I'm going to come to you, Mr. Chidi, to just hear your thoughts.
Please.
Excuse me, Senator Natasha, please, you are not recognized to speak from there. That is the order of the Senate.
Sir, order 10 on privileges. Order 10 on privilege.
Distinguished Senator Natasha.
Any senator may rise at any time to speak upon a matter of privilege suddenly arising, and he shall be prepared to move without notice. A motion declaring that the content of breach of privilege has been
allows suspension immediately.
In the past, we've allowed people to get away with a lot of things. And he will always tell me, if you can't stand the heat, leave the kitchen. I'm here to serve my people. They will throw mud at me. I said, but this mud is becoming too much. Why can't you do something? So I'm now the one going for a legal address.
It's very important, please. It's nauseating, when a grave allegation of this nature comes to public limelight. We're talking about women in power, and you see the likes of, Senator Natasha Akpabio should be applauded for coming forward, because she represents every other woman there. And some senators are even coming on air to even speak against her. It's appalling. And to see and hear that the wife of the Senate President, Onoma, would come out and challenge and give a 350 billion naira counter suit against that are affected. It's not supposed to happen. What should happen is Senator Akpabio should come forward, address a press conference with the family, if that's the route he wants to go, and talk about this issue. And, an independent inquiry, the House Committee on Ethics and Privileges should also look into this independently. He should step down honorably, not that he will not be the Senate President anymore. No, just for an independent inquiry to take place. And I also want to say that the way Almana will handle this issue, will mean a lot about because if women will come out to speak in future, if political office holders, because we have cases where, this is not the first time that Senator, what's his name, Akpabio, has been alleged to have, there's this former NDDC interim MD, who also alleged that Senator, what's his name again, Akpabio, had sexual advances towards her, and she had to slap her. It's also in the media. This, and then Senator Akpabio is the first South Senate President. Senator Natasha is the first female Kogi State Central District representative. And this is very, very symbolic. Is this how Akpabio wants to end? Because however you see it, nobody has heard Akpabio in a couple of days now to speak himself. And that's very, very... That's very, very, and then if this continues, that's not encouraging. If this trend continues, women all over the country, in Africa, because Nigeria is giant of Africa, is important because women will keep quiet because they know that an office holder is infallible. Right. Because they know that he's a god. He should not be, he should ask for sex, sorry to use this on air, but ask for it, and then you have to give it. Because after all, a whole senator came out on air and nothing happened. Then this country is nosediving into dangerous, it has to be handled well, legally and otherwise, and then I think the president of the country should wade in. This time, he should not about Obasa. Obasa is a different issue.
At this point,
he should wade in. Please, I want to allow all my other colleagues to have the...
I would like to hear thoughts too very quickly, because we're about to wrap up, from you, Dr. Chris, regarding the same issue, specifically on what sort of precedent this will set if the law does not take its course, if the executive does not come in to weigh on the issue. As we all know, not a lot of times do people step down honorably. In the absence of that,
in this country.
Yeah, in this country.
Not in the same clan. In the same clan they do.
It rarely happens. So in the absence of that, what would you prescribe?
Sorry, has it ever happened? It has never happened.
Let me
I stand to be corrected.
This is a very shameful scene. It's not, and it's telling so many things in the parts of the players, the family they are coming from, the kind of family they have, what they are trying to teach us. You see, if really our Senate president is such a person that knows the implication of the allegation, he shouldn't have allowed this thing to come to the public space, you know. Then allowing it to come to the public space, please, I am trying to advocate that they should not frustrate every or any judicial process. They should not frustrate it, because it is now, we're all aware of it. And if it is swept under the carpet, that means they are giving us a platform to work with, that every Nigeria, any woman you see on the road, you can embarrass her and nothing happens. So by this reason, please, I am advocating. I'm also praying that you should leave, you should allow the judicial process to have a free process and free movement. Also, I want to advise the wife of our Senate president. It's your fellow woman that they are harassing. I expected you to, if you don't know what to say, you keep more. That will speak more of you than coming up to do all you're doing. What if tomorrow this thing comes up? Because Natasha did not come up with an allegation that does not have facts. She is buttressing it with substantial facts. And NCC, please, do your work. Don't do otherwise. Every other stakeholder in this issue, we want to have a good Nigeria, that our children will come up tomorrow, posterity will judge us for good and not for the bad. True. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Oka. With less than 30%, so less than 15% of the women, of the total number of senators being women.
4.
That's why I just try to put it in perspective. So they're just 4.
It's less than 10%.
Less than 10%, where we're supposed to be looking at 30% affirmative action. And we only have 4 senators who are women in our, House, Senate. What does this mean for other women who have aspirations to, this feels like a kind of witch hunt where, the system does not want women to participate in politics duly and fully. This is a woman who was elected duly by her people, and from her utterances and even the things that she said when she finally, made the talk to the press, she stated that a lot of her motions have been, stepped down, some squashed, some of the time she was not recognized. Yeah. Thoughts on this, really, so that we can quickly...
Well, this is putting me in a very hot spot since this
issue came
up. First of all, let me correct the passing impression or statement by my colleague by saying Akpabio was the first South Senate president. We had...
The father
adjusted. The father?
The father was...
We had Dr. Jesse Wyas as a Senate president from South Sudan as well. Back to the issue, I had worked in an office as a director of admin, the National Council for Women's Society, and I was a he for she. So it's something that is very passionate in my. However, I want to take a little, different perspective to the issue. Like I always say, I don't like giving into sentiment or emotions when issues like this are being addressed in public opinion. Firstly, let us cross-examine the foundation of the issue itself. First, it has to do with parliamentary conduct, on how a parliamentarian conduct him or herself in the floor of the Senate. That rules were being flouted. So to that effect...
On whose part?
On the part of Senator Natasha. Right. Because if you look at the foundation of the issue, has to do with seating arrangement. So that is first.
I
look
can
at
see.
It doesn't matter.
He's already shaking his head.
We may want to be very emotional about this thing and emotional. We will miss the point. The first issue on recognizing you to speak was go to the seat allocated for, because you have been reallocated. Those issues had to be looked into. I don't think if you had obeyed the rules of the House, it will be an issue. But the issue of not recognizing is a different issue. But that is the foundation of the problem. And for me, it is even suspicious that after that was when she started alleging, because this is an allegation. It has not been proven yet right. on sexual passing comment by the Senate president. It is not the first time in the part of Akpabio. Very unfortunately, someone who had been an uncommon governor, uncommon minister, uncommon senator, but now has failed to be an uncommon Senate president and been in the public light for the wrong reason, especially his utterances that have not been well pleasing to the ordinary Nigerians in recent past. So I don't know whether it is association that changed him. It is very, very disgusting to see him being linked to this issue, not for the first time and the second time. But where I am very, very reserved is that, and I wanted to treat all of this as an allegation, because we have seen even with Senator Bukola Saraki as the Senate president, it was alleged that he sponsored the offer killings. At that point, people say resign, retire, but at the long run, when the facts were brought to book, it was all falsehood. So we will not be quick into judgment by saying Akpabio is guilty of what Natasha have alleged.
Yeah, but we're not trying to litigate.
Yes, that's what I'm only saying.
I want us to
because
just
this is
correct the
public
notion.
opinion.
Yeah, I understand your opinion.
So we should wait until this inquiry look into the matter.
Okay, so fine. I agree that we shouldn't innocent until proven guilty. In the absence of, this is not a court, but of course you can say it's the court of public opinion. And, we can assume that the issue started, you can rightly say that the issue started from the allocation of seats. But you're a Nigerian, you have observed from 7 months ago when the same Senator Natasha was, really spoken to quite rudely, if we're going to be talking about decorum and how we conduct ourselves and how they conduct themselves in the Senate, where she stood up to make an observation and he immediately shut her down and said, this is not a nightclub. So we as Nigerians have been witness to two separate instances where the Senate president, really came at her in a way that was not advisable. I mean, does this not lend credence to some of her
It is very
claims?
unparliamentary for him to behave that way, addressing institutional issues, a personal.
Right.
Because we have short memo.
Mr. Chris, I just want to hear just 30 seconds of response, because I saw you were really shaking your head. I want you to respond to him, and then after which, Dr. Chris, I'd like to hear your final thoughts.
Just very quickly, there's just a statement he made, and I want to, it's important, so that we don't leave here and, we play back what we've said and we feel, if we had known, would have said different. He said something, he said, Senate President, Senator Natasha, what she did was against the ruling of against the standing orders of the, and I said no, of the Senate. I said no. Because while those things were happening, the Senate is protected by, is run by the Senate orders. The order of the Senate. And she invoked Order 10. Order 10
which
is
allows her to talk.
Beautiful. Order 10 is a lifeline. It's like saying, oh, I want to die, oh, SOS, oh. When a woman is invoking Order 10, when a senator, whether a woman or not, let's not trivialize this issue, what should you have done? The senator in question, the Senate president, should have said, oh, let me listen to, because it is part of the Senate rule.
Yes.
You say they've reassigned seats. You say they've reassigned this thing. You say they've reassigned dress. Okay, don't you even have, before you change your position, it is merely a military regime, you say, obey before complaining. She's not disobeying. Neither is she not going to obey. Right. She's only saying, let me invoke Order 10 and hear me out. It is in line with the Senate, and then you're taking up. So it's to correct.
Arms, take her out.
Beautiful. It's to correct that impression that the Senator Natasha did follow the orders, and it is even the Senate president, by implication of his conduct, that showed he did not obey the content of Order 10, which would have allowed her to speak her mind. On this case, I raise my case.
We have had such a spirited conversation on. From the power tussle in Lagos State House of Assembly to the explosive allegations in the Senate, as well as the legal battle shaping the future of Rivers State. It is clear that the Nigerian political landscape remains as dynamic as ever. The conversation does not end here. I would like to hear your thoughts. You can follow us on social media, drop a line or two, and maybe your comment will be brought on and further discussed. Gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for giving me your time today. Thank you so much for sitting down here with us, listening to us go on and on. I hope to catch you same time tomorrow. Until then, this has been Trends with LJE, and I've been Maimuna Awes Asupar. Good afternoon.